So we're here today for the In Conversation With podcast to talk about how we can support our female clients. It's something that you and I are super passionate about. And so it's nice to get together and talk through some of the different things that we do to help support the females that we work with. My name's Emma. I'm a wealth manager here at MASECO, and I've been with the firm for about 8.5 years now. And as you know, you and I help to head up some of the female initiatives inside of the firm.
Yeah, definitely. So my name's Jen. I'm also one of the wealth managers here. Been here for 4.5 years. And like you say, really trying to build out that women's initiative a lot more, building on the kind of the women's events that we've been doing annually already, and thinking about actually what do our female clients really need and how can we better serve them throughout the entire financial journey, which I know you had a lot of observations when you went to the US at the recent conference from that.
Yeah, definitely. So I was at a conference in the US last week, focusing on women in wealth. And it was really interesting to see that a lot of the themes you and I see with the clients that we work with here were also reflected in the US as well. And some of the advisors over there were seeing similar issues come up with their female-based clients as well. So the conference was focusing around transitions and particularly how women feel through those big life events. So a few of the transitions that we touched upon were motherhood, career change, retirement, divorce, and also becoming a widow as well. As you know, men have a shorter life expectancy than women. And so oftentimes you and I have clients that go through that process, and they need a lot of support during that time as well. And so it was interesting to review those themes alongside US-based advisors with their US-based clients as well, to share ideas and think about how best we can really support our clients and understand their needs as well, so that we can help them through those big life changes. And I think one of the things that you and I have talked about is kind of that feeling of overwhelm and that sense that it can be quite daunting in those periods. And I know we help clients through that quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. That's certainly something I've seen. And studies have shown that by 2030, a lot of the wealth, 60% of the wealth, is expected to be in female hands, be that through the transitions that you've already mentioned, or obviously a lot of women are having their own careers now and building their own businesses. But through those transitions, especially, that can be very daunting for people, as you said, because historically they've been left out of the conversations, so that they've not built up maybe that the confidence that their male counterparts have had. So that's definitely something that, as you know, we're building on to try and help them through that, and really focusing on the MASECO process in order to help female clients a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things you mentioned there was that confidence element. And again, there's lots of studies that have shown that when it comes to financial literacy, there is a confidence gap between our female clients and male clients, whereby females rank themselves lower in terms of financial literacy, where actually their knowledge is similar. And I think, as you say, helping our clients to have that confidence, to be able to feel empowered to make financial decisions, is something that we really want to prioritize when we're speaking with the MASECO clients through the entire process. And I suppose making those daunting decisions feel less scary, and just guiding them through that, I guess.
Yeah, certainly. What would you say you found? I know kind of throughout our onboarding process, we have a number of meetings with our clients, but I guess the key elements I find are in that discovery and the wealth analysis kind of cash flow planning phases. That's where you really dig into all of the details with the clients. What do you find most comes out in that discovery meeting with females more?
Yeah, it's a super interesting question. I think that we spend a lot of time around goals and finding out what's really important to our clients and their values as well. Again, looking at studies, women tend to invest with a very values-driven mindset. They're thinking about security. They're thinking about, financial safety and making sure everything's going to be okay, either that be for themselves or for their family. And so I think those goals and really distilling what's important to our clients is super important, so that we can then give the best advice and help them to meet those goals. But certainly with all of my clients, but especially with my female clients, I think that's where we spend a lot of time to make sure that we really understand what is important to them.
Yeah, certainly. And I think I find it as well when we have kind of a male-female couple, making sure that they're always involved in the conversations and they're there and participating, which might not come naturally to them initially. But that's one bit I always really enjoy, seeing them come out of their shell and actually being able to explore those goals a lot more, or maybe try and flip it on its head and say, okay, well, what's not the maybe rosy picture, but what's your biggest worry? What's keeping you up at night? What's the bit that's going around in your head? Just try and delve into those bits, which maybe aren't that comfortable, but then we can help to work through them. What I sometimes find with clients is that the discovery meeting can feel quite abstract for them, and it's a lot of conversation and really diving deep into all of those aspects, which is good, but they like the next step, especially the female clients, where we go into some cash flow planning, and it puts everything that we've talked about and the numbers into more of a concrete kind of life expectancy and how it might look for them over the next 40, 50 years. I don't know if you've had any kind of scenarios where you've had to map out particular things for your female clients.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you said there is really important in terms of the worry aspect. I think through a lot of these big transitions, fear can be a huge element that, one has to contend with. And if you can take part of that worry away, then, we're doing a good job. But I think the cash flow planning really helps with that, because it helps to visualize what your future might look like, especially in these periods of large change. So, for example, I've had clients that have recently been divorced. They weren't familiar with their financials prior because their ex-husband kind of looked after all of that for them. And so they're immediately thrust into this new way of living where they're by themselves looking after the children. And they've also now got this huge financial burden to worry about as well, which is a new task that they've never had to deal with themselves. Yeah. So the modelling in those types of scenarios can be really helpful, because I think it looks at all of the numbers and you and I can model it out for them to say, actually, everything is going to be okay. And that can be really reassuring, I find, in those times of big change.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, putting in that worst case scenario really helps people as well. So what would happen if actually schooling went up to 50,000 a year rather than 30,000 a year, or something happens and you need to provide long-term care for parents and all those different aspects? I think that really helps give that confidence to people, thinking, okay, actually the portfolio could grow and it could support me and be structured correctly so that all of these goals are met, and takes hopefully some weight off their shoulders.
Absolutely. And I think, as you say there, it's just giving the financial knowledge and the financial tools to empower them to make the decisions that are right for them. And I think in those periods of significant change where everything can feel a little bit scary, having a plan in place that says, if you do X, Y, Z, everything works out perfectly as it should. Having that confidence and giving that power back to our clients in those periods that might feel a little bit uncertain. You and I have seen the benefits of that with the individuals that we work with.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot of women who are self-made coming to us as clients as well, which has probably been quite a shift historically to how it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a lot more entrepreneurial women that are kind of coming through our doors and that need our help, which is fantastic to see. If we think about how female relationships with money have changed even in recent times, it was only 1975 that women could have a bank account in their own name, to where we are today, where you've got female CEOs and, us female wealth managers, and also some of the amazing clients that we meet and we work with. I think it's come in leaps and bounds. And as part of that, I feel that we're seeing a lot more females want to be involved in the conversation around their finances, and using that element of control over their own financial decisions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's nice to see is there's more and more kind of groups and apps for your phone and different membership organizations where it's actually starting to be focused on women and what they need to know and what they want to learn, and it's actually more directed by them. And personally as well, having a lot more conversations with my sisters and my friends and building out those networks where it's a safe space, where historically maybe women haven't talked about money with their friends, but actually now is the opportunity to do that and share experiences, and that's the best way for people to learn. When we did our event a couple of years ago, when we did that life map exercise, having all of the women in the room and actually giving them the opportunity to share was so great to see. And I think a lot of people came away from that having kind of those newfound connections, knowing that actually what they're experiencing might not be alone and in silo, and actually a lot of women are feeling the same, and actually have that network now that they can draw on and talk to about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched upon a really important thing there, which is the impact of community and having that support network around you. And I think as, financial literacy increases, there are these spaces where females are feeling more comfortable to put their hands up and say, I don't really know what that means, but I'd like to know. Can I figure that out together? And I think, where we can create that space that is a safe space where someone can come to us and ask a question that they might have thought is a silly question, giving them that knowledge, I find really inspiring and kind of energizing to say, here's the tools so that you can go and implement that and make sensible financial choices, whatever they may be.
So I know that both of us have big aspirations of how we can support our female clients, but what are your thoughts and feelings that you have of how we're actually going to evolve it at MASECO?
I think that just keeping the conversation going, really, and making sure that we are addressing the needs of our female clients. We're continuing to talk about it, not only between us, but with the entire firm, and making sure that we are really giving our female clients exactly what they need from our services. But beyond that, thinking about the community and those kinds of things that we talked about, there's loads of things that we can do, and some things that we have been doing already in terms of creating those communities, having workshops to increase financial literacy, and also just developing some of those connections. And of course, we've got our upcoming event as well that hopefully will look to do some of those things too.